Hey, what's up, Cooking with Chris fam? Welcome back to the kitchen. As always, you got your boy Chris, where we cook up traditional Puerto Rican recipes where it's super simple, super easy for you guys to follow and for you guys to put together. So today, what did I whip up? Well, we've been on this little train of desserts, summertime vibes and all that stuff. So I made something today that brought that back for me. What am I referring to? Brazo Gitano. What is that? Pretty much in English, it's a cake roll. Think of a giant Swiss roll, right? With the filling. All right, so our first step in achieving to make our cake roll is going to be to take our guava and cut it up. Now you can use any kind of fruit or any kind of paste you want to in this. This is just what I have on hand and I'm going to keep it traditional. So you just want to come in here, and you want to cut it down into little pieces. So that way, when we go ahead and we put this into our pot to melt it, it can melt, pretty quickly because you're going to have the same exact size or somewhat of the same exact size chunks. It'll make it go, just a little bit faster. So we just want to come here, and then what we're going to do after that, cut it, however you feel like you want to cut it. And then I'm just going to cube it down like this. So everything's pretty much uniformed. And that's about it. This just helps, like I said, with it cooking a lot faster, breaking down a lot faster in the pot when we get ready to boil it, to turn it into a paste. All right, so I have my heat set on about a medium, and I have an electric stove, so I got it on about a 5 right now. So now what we're gonna do is just basically throw our guava in here. We're gonna keep an eye on that. But something else we have to do, not just that. So we have that in there, right? Now we're going to take a 1/4 cup of water, put in there. And then we're going to take, not lime juice, lemon juice. 1.5 cups of lemon juice into there. And what we're going to do is just keep an eye on it, and we're going to let it cook down. And all right, as you can see that our guava is starting to break down, and that's why you have to watch it. Sometimes this can take, up to, several minutes for it to completely break down. So, and the reason you got to keep an eye on it because you don't want it to stick or anything. That's the reason for the water and the lime juice and stuff like that. But when it comes to the lime juice, the lemon juice, I misspoke earlier, and I was just getting ahead of myself. It's not 1.5 cups. It is a 1.5 tablespoons of lime juice. So yeah, don't put that much lime juice. You don't want that much in there. So forgive me, for misspeaking earlier. So like I said, we're just going to keep working this until it's completely broken down. All right, so as you can see, our guava has melted down. Just giving it a final stir before I move it out of here. So once it's finally done, mine took about maybe 7.5 minutes. Again, all varies on your stove and stuff like that. You want to get you a bowl. And what you want to do, you want to go ahead and you want to remove it from the heat. And you want to just go ahead and put it into your bowl. All right, so now we have our guava in our bowl. Now what we're going to do, we're going to allow this to just sit and cool down, and we're going to move into the next step. All right, so the next step in this process is to do 2 things. We're going to put some butter on this tray with some parchment paper, and also preheat your oven to 375. So we have 2 tablespoons of butter here. First thing we're going to do, take a little bit of this butter, and we're going to rub it on this pan. This is going to help when we put our parchment paper down, that it doesn't stick at the bottom. I know sometimes, it says it doesn't stick, but sometimes we can run into that issue. So we're not going to have that issue at all. So like I said, that's what we're doing with this. Just make sure you got a good vast amount of it on there. If my tray would stop moving on me. 5, 6. So we have that. Again, that's 2 tablespoons of that. So don't be afraid to get in there. Now we have that, and we're going to take the rest of that and we're going to put it on top of this parchment paper. But let's get this sit in here really nicely. Good to go. There we go. There we have it. Now, just take the rest of it and just smear it on there. Again, this is just going to ensure that nothing sticks to anything. And you'll see why later, that this is a crucial and important part. Also, you want to make sure that this is all at room temperature when you're doing this. You don't want the butter to be just, you know, hard like you just got it out of the refrigerator and stuff like that. It's all crucial that everything is that we use today, and I'll speak about it, is at room temperature. There's reasons for it all. So we have that. Now it's time to move into the next step. What we're going to need is 3/4 cup of cake flour. Then what you're going to need is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. What you're going to do there, now we're going to mix that in there together, and then we'll move in to the next part of getting this cake roll whipped up. All right, at this step here, we have 4 egg whites at room temperature. We have 1/3 cup of sugar. Now, when you start off, you're going to start off with 2/3 cup of sugar, and you're going to divide them into 1/3 equally, and then your mixer. So what we're going to do here now is slowly, on about a medium, is begin to work our egg whites until they become like a little frothy mix. Now you can see as they became frothy. What we're going to do is slowly incorporate our sugar into this mix. Now when we're mixing this all together, we're going to be looking for the peaks in these egg whites as well. And again, just slowly incorporate your sugar. Until it's all gone. Now, once all of your sugar is gone and it's all incorporated into your egg whites, what we're going to be looking for is a shaving cream consistency. So we'll turn it up just a little bit. So like I said, you know, you want that to be like a shaving cream consistency. So now what we need to do is move it to the next step. Let's get that out of the way. All right, here at this step, we have our 4 egg yolks, again, room temperature. We have a teaspoon of vanilla, and we have that remaining sugar. So what we want to do is just take and go ahead and put our remaining sugar in there. And then we want to put our vanilla in there. And we're going to mix this all together until it becomes all incorporated and almost like a creamy kind of texture. So we're going to put this on medium, and we're going to go from there. But again, like I always say, you know, like I've been saying in this is that you want it at room temperature because there's egg whites and the egg yolk and everything, because it helps with the consistency when you're baking this this cake. All right, we're good on that now. Let's move into our next step, which is we're going to go ahead. We have some melted butter that I've been letting cool down. And then also that cake flour that we had. We're going to incorporate that right into here. All right, again, there's our mixture. And now we're going to take that 4 tablespoons of melted butter that's cooled down, put that into there. And then what we're going to come ahead and do is take that that cake flour we had, and we're going to have a sifter, and we're going to do it just like this. Now, I don't have one of the sifters that have the little arm on it, well, wheel, I should say, so I'm doing it this way. A lot of times I like to do stuff old school way anyway. I feel more connected when I'm doing this kind of stuff. I mean, this is why I do it, because I love my culture, I love my heritage, I love it all. And I love bringing these recipes. And you know, like I said, man, when you're cooking with love, it makes a big difference. So, and you're taking your time and you're going through the recipes and everything. That's what makes the difference, is when you're cooking it. And you know, people always say when they taste my food, they say, "Oh man, this sure tastes like it's made with love." That's because it is. Because it takes me back to the memories when I was a kid, being in the kitchen, helping out, doing this, learning these things and all that good stuff, you know. And then I just put that into my cooking, and I put that into here. You know, you don't need all that fancy stuff to, you know, to cook or to do anything, you know, all the fancy setups and all that. You know, just get on here with a phone and a mic and like I do, and do what you do. But, you know, but that's what we have there now. That's all incorporated together. And so now what we're going to do, we're going to put this on a medium, and we're going to combine this all together until it's well and incorporated. Now that we have both of our mixtures here together, what we want to do is take our mixture of egg whites and slowly incorporate them into here. And you want to do this, you know, put about half of them in there. And the reason being, because we need to incorporate this nice and easy. Because we don't want to deflate what we've done to the batter. So just go ahead and incorporate it nice and easy. And we're going to repeat the same process as soon as we get this incorporated. We're going to put the remaining bit of it in here. But again, you want to do this gently because we don't want to deflate our batter. And again, we're just going to fold this in nice and easy. And then we'll move into getting this put onto our tray and into the oven. All right, so now let's take our batter and let's slowly pour it onto our tray. And then what we're going to do with it, we're going to make sure that when it's all on here, we're going to make sure that it's all evened out. So let's get it all out of here. All right, now that we got it all out of there, what we need to do now is basically spread it all out nice and easy, make sure it's all flat and everything is good to go. I don't have like an offset spatula, so I'm just gonna have to do this the best I can just to make sure that everything is just nice and evened out. So that's what we're gonna do here. Just make sure it's all nice and even. Now that we have it all spread nice and even, we're going to put this into the oven for 10 to 12 minutes. Keep an eye on it because all we're doing is looking for the top of this to be a golden color. So you know your oven better than anybody, like I always say. So check on it at 10 minutes. If it's golden, go ahead and pull it out. If it goes the full 12 minutes, but you just want to make sure the top is golden. So let's get this baby popped into the oven. All right, so I just pulled mine out. As you can see, it's golden on top. Mine actually just took 10 minutes, but remember to check on it. You want that golden color. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna let this thing cool off for 3 minutes before we do anything else. But I'm gonna take a butter knife and go down the side. That way we make sure there's nothing, you know, stuck or it's going to be in the way when we move into the next step of doing this. So just take your butter knife and just like that, just go down the side and then set your timer for 3 minutes, and then we'll be back in just a minute. All right, so it's been 3 minutes and our cake has cooled. Now our next step is to take some powdered sugar, and what we're going to do, we're going to put it all on the top. Sure that you're getting it all over the whole top of it. You want to make sure it's covered. Every bit of it. Let's move into the next part of this. The next step in this process is to take a damp, clean kitchen towel and put it over top. And what we're going to do here, we're going to invert it onto here. So let's go ahead and take it. We'll invert it onto here. And then what we're going to do, once we get it all laid out onto here, what we're going to do is basically pull the parchment paper off, and I'll show you that in just a second. Now the next step in the process, like I said, was to pull the parchment paper off. See how clean and easy that was? That's the whole purpose of putting that butter on there, on the tray itself and also onto the top of it. Now with your towel, what you're going to do is take, and I know this may seem crazy, but we're going to roll this into a night tice formation, and then what we're going to do, we're going to let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes. Process on this. So what we're going to do, we're going to come right here, we're going to take it, and I know it sounds crazy, but we're going to take this and we're going to roll this into here, gently applying pressure. And like I said earlier on, what we're going to do, we're going to allow this to sit for 15 to 20 minutes in this roll. So once that we do that, we have that. This is what it's going to look like. Let's let this sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. Like I said, I'm probably just going to let mine go all the way to the 20 minutes and come back and we'll move into the next process. All right, like I said, I was going to let mine cool for 20 minutes. So let's go ahead. Let's get this thing to where I can roll it out. So here we have it right there. All right, now let's go ahead and get this off of here now for just a minute. Let's get that off of there. And let's take and put it onto this tray, nice and neat. Get it pulled right there. Now, finally, right? You're like, man, this is a lot of process. This is a lot of steps. But I promise you, it's all worth it in the end. Every bit of it. So we're going to take that guava and we're going to slowly put some on here. And at the very end of this here, I'm going to leave about just a little spacing, maybe about an inch. But what we want to do, we want to take our guava and we want to pretty much space this out, even it out onto here, ensuring that it's even all the way through. All right, so the next step in the process, right, is to take this and roll it back up. Again, what you want to do is make sure when you're rolling it, you're making sure that, you know, it's a little tight, just like when we folded in inside the towel. Making sure, yep. And so then what we're going to do is that right there. Now, once we have that done, the next step is to come back over here. And what we're going to do is pretty much take our paper here, our clinch wrap paper here. And what we're going to do, we're going to take it and we are going to pretty much fold it back up. So again, and we're going to put this in the refrigerator and we're going to put it in there for about 15 minutes. That way this can firm up And when we cut into it, the guava doesn't fall out. So it gives everything a time to chill and everything time to pretty much harden up, or I should say firm up. So I'll see you in about 15 minutes. All right, fam. So it's been about that 15 minutes. Now, I know you're dying to get off into this thing. By now, I know your kids, if they've been watching you cook it, or your spouse or whoever been watching you cook this thing. So, our next and final step is to do this. We have to take a little bit more of that powdered sugar and bring it across the top. And don't be stingy with it. Make this thing look awesome. I know that child or that kid or husband or wife or whoever grew up eating this, if you know, or if this is your first time making this, you're going to love it. I promise you. So, here we have it right there. Now, let's go ahead and get us a cut into that cross section. All right, let's go ahead and cut us a little piece of this. Let's check out this cross section here. Ooh, look at that. If I get my hand in here, let me get that out the way for just a minute and then we'll come back to that. Look at that, fam. Man, the cross section on there, the filling in there, you ain't lacking on any of it. You already know it's going to be awesome. So let's go ahead and get that piece that we plated. Let's get a fork and give it a try. All right, fam. So thank you for hanging out with me in the kitchen today. As always, it's because of you guys that the page grows, that the stuff gets shared out, you know. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys for pulling up a chair, pulling up that stool and coming to the counter and learning how to make this awesome and delicious Puerto Rican dessert today with me. So, like I said earlier, we seen that cross section. So let me show you what we got right here. As you can see, I put a little bit more powdered sugar on there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get off into this real quick. Look at the guava. We're not missing out on any of it. You get the sweetness of that guava, a little bit of that sugar, and then you get that nice softness of that cake all coming together, just harmonizing with this beautiful flavor. I mean, you could have this with coffee. You could have this after a meal. You could have this any time that you want. It's something easy that you can put together. Yeah, it's a little bit time consuming, but you know, when you're doing stuff like this, it's a labor of love. You got to love what you're doing. You got to love that people are going to come out and try this. Your family's going to love it. And again, fam, I thank you for joining me today in the kitchen as we made this. And again, let me give you just another little cross section of that little bite right there. Man, it's super, super awesome. Like I said, it's super soft and it's not overly sweet. So that's what I like about it myself. But again, fam, I can't say it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until the next episode, hug your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Until next time, peace.